Okay, so I felt that it was time to pay some exclusive attention to Louis because he's got a new track coming out in, oh God, like less than 2 weeks called Lemonade. It's not the album, but it is a track. And I think there's going to be like a sample, another, another sort of side B um, track released called, and oh God, I knew it this morning. Anyway, but he's dropping Lemonade, so the fans were right about the word lemonade, but we still don't know if it's going to be the title to the next album. So with Louis going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, I just felt like so called to do an ode to Louis and why I'll always be a Louis girl. So, like I said, today I wanted to take a moment to talk about something that is a gem in the world of music and pop culture, and that is Louis Tomlinson and his fandom, and why, for all the years have gone by, I will always consider myself a Louis girl first. Yes, I've had my moments of love for Niall, favorite Irishman. Love it when he does the guitar thing and when he sings Eagle songs. Okay, totally love it. But I will always admire, but I'll always admit that he's my personal favorite in a lot of ways. Niall is, but when it comes down to the heartbeat of this fandom, when it comes to the artist who inspires me on the deepest level, Louis has my unwavering support. I don't care how much he stunts, even though I really don't like the current one anyway. And now that Louis, as I said, is on the cover of Rolling Stone with the brand new track coming due called Lemonade that's dropping September 30th, like I said, it feels like a perfect time to reflect on why I'm just so proud to support him. All right, Louis the artist. So Louis has always been underrated, and that's part of why his story matters and charms so much. Because from the beginning, he wasn't positioned as the front man. He wasn't the one the cameras immediately chased, although he was absolutely beautiful with those blue eyes of his and that bone structure. So, but he did do consistently was shape the sound, the feeling, and the heartbeat of One Direction with Liam Payne. And honestly, I'm sad that Louis' newest musical creation is going to be celebrated without Liam Payne because they were really close, like the last couple of years before we lost Liam. And the anniversary of Liam is next month, him passing away in Argentina, and it still feels really raw. It still doesn't feel like it's like it still stuns me that Liam's gone. But I think for that reason that Louis doesn't have Liam to be part of the celebration of the debut of this new track, I almost feel like the fans, this is our chance, fans, to be there for Louis. Because it's like his lyricism, like I call him the lyrical sniper. His instincts, he like helped liberate himself and the boys out of One Direction, even though he stayed with Psycho an additional 5 years. I think he made a deal with the devil, aka Simon, because that's how brave he is, and his ability to glue everything together. And these were the things that gave the band its staying power, and they still have the bond that was there in the early years, even now, and it's been 10 years of hiatus. And I'm just so happy that him and Zing like they made up. I'm just so happy for both of them. So, okay, fast forward to Louis' solo career, and you see it crystal clear. Louis is not just a singer, he is a lyricist, like I said, a performer, a producer, an entrepreneur. He's built his own lane, even as doors slammed in his face after the end of the band, despite all his successes, despite having the most writing credits. That man has resilience. He has fought for artistic control, and he's proved that artistry doesn't always have to be loud or flashy to be powerful. It can be subtle, sharp, and deeply authentic. And that's Louis. His writing cuts right to the bone. His voice carries experience. He's not pretending, not chasing trends. He's building something real. Louis the archetype. Okay. And here's where it is kind of for me. Louis is more than just a musician. He is an archetype. He represents something rare in this modern celebrity culture we find ourselves in. He's a kind of steady resilience that does not fade. That he's there for the band. He's like, I believe he's there for Harry. He's there for his siblings. He's there for his friends, like his longtime childhood friend Ollie. He's like his assistant. Like he is just there, He's emotionally available, even though his life has taken on this other trajectory compared to how it started, right? Like he still connects his Doncaster roots, and that is so appealing, even under pressure. So think about it. The guy comes from Doncaster in Yorkshire, England, builds himself up against the odds and against the devil of Simon, and never loses that grounding. He's not about hype, he's about connection and like that connection capital, right? He's about staying close to the people he loves, protecting his family, protecting his friends, and never losing sight of his roots. So let's bring in some Carl Jung, one of my favorites. So, in Jungian terms, if you want to think archetypes, Louis carries both the loyal guardian and the trickster creator. When I use the word trickster in this context, it's not in the negative, not in the mean joker. Although some people argue that the joker is actually more base than mischievous and cruel. But anyway, so he's got that alchemy to him. So the reason I kind of refer to those Jungian archetypes when I refer to Louis is because he's fiercely protective. Like I said, bandmates, siblings, people he considers his own. Yet he's also witty, playful, and the guy who doesn't let the room get too heavy. And it's that balance, the seriousness and the humor, that makes him both relatable and magnetic. And that is why, even when I'm analyzing Larry Stylinson, even when I'm talking about the dynamics in the fandom of the Louis Harry arc, right? I always come back to Louis as the anchor. He's not just half of the ship, he's the one who kind of makes me believe that the ship has depth, that it represents something larger about love, loyalty, and resilience. And I really believe that he saved Harry Styles' life and his soul because Harry was so young and vulnerable, and he really protected him. And he rallied the other boys to protect Harry. Um, and then there's the entrepreneur and the leader. So there's Louis, that's the businessman, the man who created the 28 clothing line, who invests in his own tours and festivals, who makes deliberate choices about his own career trajectory, despite the kind of questionable tactics of like the management company, right? Um, and it's in an industry where there's so many people that are swallowed up by the contracts and the labels. Louis, at such a young age, held his ground and got out of it, right? He knows his audience. He knows his brand. He lurks in the fandom chatter with his little burner account to kind of stay on the pulse. And he knows how to build something sustainable. That is leadership. That is vision. And that is why he's not just another pop star. He's someone who's going to have longevity. He already has proven he has longevity. Someone who will still be standing when many others fade out. So it's why being a Louis girl doesn't just mean being a fan of his music, although the music is the foundational key. It means respecting his hustle, his intellect, and his determination to never let himself or his art be defined by someone else. So, the gem in celebrity culture. So now I will be honest. Um, we've all seen the scandals, the downfalls, the too good to be true facades that crumble. Celebrity culture doesn't impress people much these days. But in the backdrop of that and the contrast, Louis, he's just different. Yeah, he's famous. Yes, he's successful, but he still feels real and human and relatable. You don't get the sense that he's living in some untouchable bubble. Instead, you get the sense that if you ran into Louis on the street, he'd actually be present with you. He'd crack a joke, ask a question, make you feel like you mattered as a fan, appreciate your fan support. Like, that's rare. He's grateful. And that's what makes Louis such a gem. In a world where fame often corrodes authenticity, Louis somehow managed to shine brighter without losing who he is. All right, the Rolling Stone cover and Lemonade, the track. So when I see Louis on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, I feel nothing but pride. He's earned it. Every page of that feature represents years of grinding, of resilience, of grit, of refusing to back down, of making it one way or the other without compromising and doing sort of dark things with the powers of Simon and what's his name, Louis Walsh would do. Louis Walsh, what he did to Boyzone, my God, I don't even want to go there. It, if you want to, I am You think I'm protective of Louis Tomlinson? You know where I learned how to do that? It was because Ronan Keating was my Harry Styles, my generation, and I saw that same vulnerability in Ronan Keating because he also lost his mom. I think he lost his mom around a similar age that Louis did, and Ronan at that time had his band, had his he had also a lot of siblings. He was not the oldest though, but he was very close to his mom and very sensitive. And the fact that, anyway, I don't want to get on the Ronin track here, but I kind of like learned how to be protective of Louis through feeling very protective of Ronan Keating, and I was so glad that Ronan Keating had his first wife Yvonne because they were like late teens, early 20s. So I was so happy that he had her when he lost his mom because I was worried he'd fall apart. I don't so much worry Louis will fall apart because I think he's built like Teflon, and he's luckily has a support system. But I think Louis is the kind of person he's always taking care of other people. It's like he kind of like Louis, let people take care of you because we worry that you'll have some burnout or have hypertension too young. And we worry. I worry about that actually with Louis. So when you look at and with this track Lemonade that's dropping at the end of the month, this September 30th, I could not be more excited. Not just because it's new music, but because every Louis release feels like an evolution. Like we're getting another layer of him as an artist, a storyteller, and just as a human being. I can already tell this is going to be one of those songs that fans hold on to, analyze, and sing back to him at shows all the love in the world because damn it, that man deserves it. I still kind of think of him as he was when he was like 18, 19, because when he had that kind of haircut and the blue eyes. So cute. So yes, I am a Niall fan in many ways, and I guess of course I love Harry and those green eyes and those dimples and those. Like, he doesn't have the curls he used to have because he's cut his hair, and of course I miss Liam, and Zayn oh my god, I gotta do the Zayn residency. Oh my god, I owe that. Okay, I'll do that next. And the whole legacy One Direction, but when it comes to who I always stand behind first and foremost, it's Louis Tomlinson. Because Louis isn't just the artist I admire, he's an archetype. I believe him, and he's the proof that talent, loyalty, and resilience can outlast hype. He's the reminder that fame doesn't have to erode humanity. And he's the reason that even in a world where celebrity culture often disappoints us, I can say with certainty I'll always be a Louis girl and totally unapologetic about it. Many of us Louis say that or have our version of that. Like we stand with Louis. So why are you a Louis girl or a Louis boy or a Louis? uh, what what do you think the Lemonade song is going to be about? Do you think it's going to be a slow song? Do you think it's going to be a fast song? Do you think it'll be a love song? I'm kind of excited, like because if anyone can turn lemons into lemonade, anyone can turn something sour into something sweet. It is Louis Tomlinson because he's been doing it forever.